Alright, tally ho there champs. Now today we're going to talk about what laptop you should buy now in 2018 and which ones you shouldn't buy. Now I really want your help with this. Please, let's start a conversation down there in the comments. What laptops you're interested in, because there's been literally 30 something laptops from the top manufacturers announced or released recently, especially since the Intel's launch of the new 8th generation 6-core processors. I really want to know which laptops you guys are most interested in, so please let me know. It's down there near the like button and subscribe, and I'll listen to you guys, so I would appreciate a like. So not only am I going to tell you what laptops to buy and not to buy, I'm also going to go through the process on how I actually choose a laptop for myself, because I'm in the market for a laptop right now. I sold my XPS 15 because I knew the new ones were coming out. I've been using a MacBook Pro 15 inch. My friends, the Greeks, I've had to give that back now. So I am laptopless actually. The only laptop I have, my wife has the Surface and whatever, but the only laptop I have at the moment is this Acer laptop that I'm currently reviewing. It's actually a very affordable, good 2-in-1 with great battery life. So yeah, stay tuned for that one. So I've already done a video on which Macs you should buy, so check out the link in the description for that video. Just to sum it up, you shouldn't buy any Mac now, okay? Wait for the refresh of the entire line. There's going to be some big changes, especially to the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which will be going to quad-core, and the 15-inch also should be going to hex core, so 6-core CPUs as well. So I wouldn't buy a Mac now. If you have to, you can justify the 15-inch with the 45 watt quad core parts, but if you can hold off. I'm also going to tell you which laptops I have my eye on, which ones I really think are cool. There have been some great laptops announced, the new XPS 15, the GigaByte Aero, there's loads, so I'll get into that later. So when I started this video, I was looking through all the laptops, all the main laptops from the main manufacturers, and quite frankly, it was just doing me head in. There's just so many laptops from so many manufacturers, so many variations. So I'm going to keep it really simple. So instead of comparing model to model, there is a much easier way to decide which laptop you should buy and which one you shouldn't. I'll take you through the steps on how to choose the one that's right for you later, but just generally speaking, just look for Intel 8th generation. That's all you have to look for. You have to work out what your needs are. I'll go through that later, because as I said, I'm buying a new laptop, so I'll take you through the steps of how I'm choosing my laptop. But if you go 8th generation, you're halfway there. So I would not buy any 7th generation laptop right now. The only time you can justify it is maybe for gaming. Gaming 7th generation are perfectly fine, because there's only a 7 to 10% increase in gaming performance between the 7th and 8th generation CPUs. You do get extra 2 cores. So if you have a multi-threaded application, video editing, you will get better performance out of the 8th generation. But for gaming, it's only 7 to 10%. So if you can get a deal on a 7th generation gaming laptop, I think that's perfectly fine to do so. And also the jump from 4 to 6 cores with these H processors is not as big as jumping from dual to quad core as it is with the U parts, the Ultrabook parts. So if you don't know already, when they went from the 7th generation Ultrabook CPUs, so we're talking MacBook Pro 13 inch, XPS 13, your HP Envies and stuff like that, they went from dual core to quad core with the 8th generation. Now the Macs haven't updated to 8th generation, but there's a massive difference if you're going to get a 13 inch Ultrabook with a dual core and a quad core. Getting say a 15 inch laptop with a quad core to 6 core is not that big of an increase in performance compared to dual core to quad core. So I think you're safe if you stick with 8th generation CPUs, you'll be fine. I think if you're gaming or even if you're video editing or stuff like that, you still can justify the 7th generation quad core parts, especially if you're going to get a deal, because the new 8th generation laptops will be expensive. So I think that's the easiest way you can break it down. As I said before, I am looking for a new laptop. So I'm going to go through the steps of how I'm choosing my laptop. First of all, I think you pick out the top 3 things that you need in a laptop. For me, it has to be powerful enough to video edit. The 3 things I'm going to be doing with my laptop is video editing. That's the number 1. Second and third would be gaming and web surfing and stuff like that. So when I break it down, I need a laptop that's very good at video editing. So that means I need a graphics card. That means I need a bigger display, 14, 15 inch. I've tried 13 inches, they don't work. I love the Surface Book 2 because that has a nice display size, even though it's a 13 inch, because of its aspect ratio, acts more like a 14 inch, has a graphics card. It was almost perfect. And I nearly ended up keeping that laptop, but I did return it because I knew that the XPS 15 was going to have 6 cores, which is better for me for video editing. 6 cores versus 4 is going to be better. And also I was going to get a more powerful graphics card. You know, it's slightly more powerful, but the main thing is it's going to have 4 gigabytes of RAM versus 2 gigabytes on the Surface Book 2. 13 inch I'm talking about. If you're talking a 15 inch, it's a different story because that thing is like a beast. But if I'm going to go 15 inch, I'm better off with a normal laptop rather than a hybrid for my personal use. I've got to have a 15 inch laptop because I need the display size. Has to be good at video editing. I need a graphics card. Also, battery life is important to me, so I want at least 7 hours battery life minimum these days. In 2018, I would expect 7 hours battery life at least. I'd like more if I could. Also, I want it in the smallest, lightest package I can possibly have. Now, I do realise when I'm going 15 inch, I'm going to have to compromise in terms of weight, size, etc. I'm not going to get a small and light laptop like a 13 inch. It's just not going to happen. But I don't want a huge gaming laptop like, you know, a traditional gaming laptop. They're fairly heavy. Like they're over 2.5 kilos, like over 5 pound mark. So I want to keep it at around 2.25 kilos, you know, your 4.5 pound sort of weight there, and under 20 millimeters. In fact, as thin as possible without compromising on the battery. So, you know, I don't care 15 to 18 millimeters as long as I get a big battery, but you know, 15 to 20 millimeters is too much of a gap. I'll probably go for the thinner one if it's like a 5 mil difference. So when it comes down to it, I look through all the laptops, okay, all the laptops, and the only ones that really suit me was the Surface Book 2, XPS 15, the GigaByte Aero. There's a HP laptop too, I forget what that's called, Workbook or something, I don't know. And then also you have the MacBook Pro. I have to rule out the MacBook Pro straight away because it doesn't have 8th generation. Also only supports 16 gigabytes of RAM. And I have a 2011 MacBook Pro 13 inch that has 16 gig in it. So in 2018, 16 gig is not going to cut it with, you know, 4K content and above. It's fine for HD, but you want more than 16 gig, especially if you're going to have a lot of apps open and stuff like that. So when it boils down to it, I need a good screen with color accuracy. I need good battery life. I want as portable as possible. I need the power to video edit with lots of RAM, etc. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to work out what you need. Do you need ultralight? Do you need portable? Do you need battery life? What is highest on your list? I get a lot of people saying, I'm a student. Is this good for a student? Well, I don't know what that means. What are your needs? That's what you have to put down there. Do the top 3. Because you can have like 10 needs, but you really have to narrow it down because there is no perfect laptop. They are all compromised in some sort of way. You know, if you want the long battery life, you need a thicker laptop or an underpowered laptop with a low resolution display. If you want the good performance, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be thicker, it's going to be louder. There's just a compromise with every single laptop. So you have to work out your top 3 priorities and get the best laptop for what you need. Stick with the 8th generations, as I said. If you know any other laptops that you think that I would be interested in, you know, the XPS 15, the GigaByte Aero really tick all the boxes. Beautiful high resolution displays. They got the power I need, especially the GigaByte. The GigaByte has GTX 1060, even a GTX 1070 Max Q, which is probably overkill for what I need. I don't need it for gaming. I do like my laptop to be able to game, but I've already demonstrated between a GTX 1050 and a GTX 1060. In the timeline of, say, Premiere Pro, there's not that much difference. Rendering, it's about 20% faster, but rendering doesn't really matter to me. It's how it performs in the timeline. So given that, the most important thing to me is how it performs in video editing. It's a really hard decision between the Aero and the XPS 15 to me. And I'm going to have to use other factors like support. You know, Dell has great support. GigaByte, what do? Like, do I buy it from some reseller and, you know, 3 months down the track I have a problem? What, I've got to take it back to them or send it back to them and they're going to send it to the manufacturer and it might come back in 6 weeks? Or the XPS 15, I just ring up Dell, have a problem. Usually within a couple of days I get on-site repair. Boom, I'm done. So I've got to weigh that into it as well, not just the performance of the machine and how good the machine is. I'm going to have to figure out, can I do without my laptop for 4 to 6 weeks if I have a problem? And you don't want to get into the trap of just saying, well, this one's got better specs, so I'll just go with that one. You got to work out what your needs are and stick within those parameters, because it is very tempting for me to go with the Aero because it has more powerful graphics cards and so on. But as I've said, there's not much difference between 1050 and 1060 in the timeline with Premiere Pro, and that's where I'm going to be using it mostly. So will I get really any benefit to having the GTX 1070 Max-Q or GTX 1060? Especially as if I get the GigaByte Aero, I won't get the 144Hz display. I will get the 4K one because I video edit. I want the high resolution display. I want the wider color gamut. That's more important to me than a 144Hz display because it's going to be used primarily for video editing. If it was flipped, if I was going to use this for gaming first and then video editing second, the GigaByte Aero is the number one choice straight away because I'll just get the 144Hz display and I'll get the 1070 with Max-Q because gaming will be the most important thing to me. Then it's a no-brainer. But if I flip it around to what I need, it's not a no-brainer because with a 4K display, it's locked at 60 Hz. So in terms of gaming, a 1060, 1070 is not going to give me any better gaming experience apart from maybe being able to, instead of using medium settings, I'll be using high settings or whatever, or ultra. There's not going to be much difference video editing. So they're two laptops I'll definitely be covering. Dell XPS 15 2-in-1 as well. There's a load of Asus laptops. There's MSI, there's HP, there's all these laptops. It'll all come out in the wash. I will gravitate towards the ones that are the better laptops, more suited to what I want to look at. Also, what you guys want to look at. I really do appreciate you guys. So if a laptop keeps on popping up in the comments that everyone wants to look at, I'll definitely look at it just for you guys. So to sum it all up, which laptop should you buy now? You got to put your priorities. 1, 2, 3. You can put other priorities too, but stick to the main 3. You need to get an 8th generation CPU, Intel CPU in the laptop. That is the one thing I think is a must, unless it's a gaming laptop, which a 7th generation is fine. And then once you've written down what your priorities are, stick to it, okay? So I could very well get the XPS 15, even though the GigaByte has better specs. The XPS 15 still may suit me better. I want to see what Apple do too, whether they come out with 6-core and new Vega graphics. But I definitely won't fall into the trap of just buying a laptop just because it has a better spec like 1050 Ti versus 1060, if it's not going to give me any benefit for what I do. So this was a long one. I hope it wasn't too boring. That's how I do it. I just thought I'd share it with you because I'm actually going through all the laptops. If you know any other laptops I should be looking at for 15-inch, video editing and stuff like that, leave it down there in the comments. It's an exciting time with lots of laptops coming out. The laptop scene is so much more exciting than the smartphone scene at the moment. Every phone, they're all boring now. These laptops are really exciting. So, thanks for listening to this. If you're new around here, please subscribe. Hit that like button if you've made it this far. Hey, hit that like button, champ. And until next time, guys, tally ho.